Hello, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be covering an article from Bounding Into Comics. Just came out a little while ago by John F. Trent. Ray Fisher making some accusations against Joss Whedon. This is big. We're going to break it down. Plus, a quick Google search yielded some results of some previous accusations. Let's get into it. Monkeys, roll that footage. Who would have thought we'd be here right now talking about abuse allegations by Ray Fisher against Joss Whedon, part director of Justice League, which was a cinematic failure by all accounts, but this transcends that, as this actor has made some rather startling allegations in the wake of recent things that have been going on politically and socially. At the time of the release of Justice League, Fisher had said nothing but complimentary things about Whedon and his style and his experience during the filmmaking process. But as we're now finding out, this was not the case whatsoever when it related to Mr. Fisher's experience during the Justice League process. Now, let's get into this article from Bounding Into Comics. The article starts, Justice League actor Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg, accused director Joss Whedon of abuse. Fisher made these accusations on Twitter, writing Joss Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. He then called out Jeff Johns and John Berg as well, writing, he was enabled in many ways by Jeff Johns and John Berg. Now, this Jeff Johns situation goes way back to 2012 when, yes, that's right, 2012, when Matt Reeves first started to pen the Batman. They've been waiting that long to get this movie into production. Zack Snyder was in place then, so they had to do something to get rid of Zack Snyder, wait for an opportunity to present itself. When Snyder suffered that tragic loss during the filming of Justice League, Johns and Berg put this plan into play to bring Whedon in to push Snyder out the door, and that's where we are today. Johns and Berg wanted this plan to fall into place back then because of Matt Reeves starting to pen the Batman, whereas Zack Snyder's Batman was, of course, Ben Affleck or Batfleck. Reeves wanted a pretty boy Batman, and yes, that's why we ended up with Robert Pattinson, sparkly Batman. And no, this isn't me just going on some cutaway rant. I am simply showing you just how low Joss Whedon will stoop to get to where he wants to go, and then he does whatever he wants to do. Now, let's move forward with this article before I give you Exhibit B, an article that I unearthed from 3 years ago, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Fisher is not the only person to make accusations against the Avengers and Justice League director. Whedon's ex-wife, Kai Cole, penned an opinion piece in The Wrap describing Whedon as a hypocrite preaching feminist ideals. Cole claimed that after their marriage ended, Whedon confessed to him that he used his position on the Buffy the Vampire Slayer to have numerous affairs. In one communique, he wrote, "When I was running Buffy, I was surrounded by beautiful, needy, aggressive young women. It felt like I had a disease, like something from a Greek myth. Suddenly I am a powerful producer and the world is laid out at my feet and I can't touch it." She then detailed that he did touch it. She wrote, Joss admitted that for the next decade and a half he had multiple affairs, which included one with Eliza Dushku from Dollhouse and a number of inappropriate emotional ones that he had with his actresses, co-workers, and friends while he stayed married to me. Cole then added that Whedon told her, "I let myself love you. I stopped worrying about the contradiction. As a guilty man, I knew the only way to hide was to act as though I were righteous. And as a husband, I wanted to be with you like we had been. I lived two lives." In fact, she goes on to claim that Whedon went on to describe that his behavior was normal in Hollywood. "In many ways, I was the height of normal in this culture. We are taught to be providers and companions and at the same time to conquer and acquire, specifically sexually. And I was pulling off both," a quote from Whedon said. Cole concluded her article writing, "I want to let women know that he is not who he pretends to be. I want the people who worship him to know he is human, and the organizations giving him awards for his feminist work to think twice in the future about honoring a man who does not practice what he preaches." Whedon responded to the article via a spokesperson who stated, "While this account includes inaccuracies and misrepresentations which can be harmful to their family, Joss is not commenting, out of concern for his children and out of respect for his ex-wife." Fisher's comments also appear to support a rumor from back in April that Geoff Johns was instrumental in bringing Joss Whedon on board of Justice League and interfering with Zack Snyder's original vision for the film, which I talked about earlier on in the video. So to quickly summarize the whole situation, Zack Snyder got backdoored by Geoff Johns to bring in Joss Whedon, which would ultimately usurp Zack Snyder's control over Justice League once he left in the wake of the tragedy that befell his family, and Warner Brothers did nothing to stop it. They let it happen, and they reaped what they've sown. And to kind of round this back to Ray Fisher's allegations of abuse on the set by Joss Whedon, let's dive into that article I spoke of earlier in the video that would kind of shed some more light on these allegations and maybe give us a little more insight into the entire situation as a whole with Joss Whedon. This article from the Telegraph 2 years and 11 months ago. Boy, the band does not change their tune, do they? Whedon is the personification of what's wrong with male feminists. And all of these allegations and all of these problems and situations in the past are coming to light now. I'm just going to read a little bit of this opening paragraph. It talks about the letter from Kai Cole, his ex-wife. It says, "But for long-term watchers of the Whedonverse, comprising of a series including Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, Firefly, and Dollhouse, the news that Whedon isn't exactly the perfect man didn't come as an enormous surprise. For a while, Whedon has long been heralded as a pioneer of feminist storytelling. He's also been notoriously flawed when it comes to his own politics, from messy relationships with some of the actresses in his work to plot decisions that can't help but read as vaguely tone-deaf." The article goes on to talk about how Whedon's antics were only spoke of in hushes and whispers in the back rooms of conventions and Comic-Cons. So let's take a look at the top 5 things that Joss Whedon has done to make us believe that his male feminist view is nothing but a load of
bullshit. 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 Bullshit.
Bullshit! You said so! It's all bullshit! All of it!
Number 1, allegedly he fired Charisma Carpenter for getting pregnant while she was working on the show Angel. That's not a thing a male feminist would do, is it?
You are one pathetic loser.
Number 2, the time he failed Black Widow, by not fleshing out her backstory and when he put extra emphasis on the fact that she was sterilized. Oh, and there was that whole incident with her movie being promised by him, but then Age of Ultron getting released before her movie, which got pushed back to 2020. Number 3 is a trope that's loved across the board by all feminists. The times he used rape as a plot device to help men learn things. Yes, because nothing says male feminist and ally to the feminists, who are actually women, like using rape as a plot device.
Fuck that puto!
When he wrote a dodgy Wonder Woman script. Yes, that's right, this article, of course, comes from the Telegraph, which is across the pond, which is why we use the word dodgy. I read some lines from it that are in the article. I will link it in the description below so you can take a look at it. The lines made Diana look kind of dumb, and that's what the article went on to say. It just made her look like it was written from a misogynistic point of view, which is odd coming from a male feminist. And rounding out the top 5, that he loves super strong women as long as they're super tiny, and this was evidenced by a lot of the leading ladies he picked on the shows, such as Allison Hannigan and her lover. There's a paragraph in the article that goes over that whole situation during the casting process, so you can kind of read that for yourself. So that rounds out our top 5 reasons why Joss Whedon is a shady male feminist.
Is this true? Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
And the last paragraph of this article really gives you an insight into the mindset of Joss Whedon's whole charade. I've learned a lot from Marty Noxon. She's always looked after everybody who was coming up under her and made sure that they were moving forward. She had a real understanding of inequality, of lack of representation that I didn't. She's very community-minded and not much of a selfish prick as I am. I didn't have the bandwidth to care about humans. I hope I treated people with respect, but I definitely missed some of the point. I was of that certain era. Of course, now, I'm super woke. Such a woke bae. Normally, when allegations such as these surface, you like to give the accused a benefit of the doubt. But in this case, Joss Whedon's body of work speaks for itself, going back 2 decades, as it were, to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, Firefly, So Beyond, and So Be It. So, with that being said, I'm going to keep following this story for you for the channel as things develop, as I'm sure they will, and more people will undoubtedly come forward. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And it's time. Let's take this thing home, shall we? Here's where you can find us all across social media at TB2BR on Instagram, the Place to Be Reviews page on Facebook, the official Place to Be Reviews fan page, that's our private group, at the Place to Be RE1, at N80Pete on Twitter, past podcast available on Anchor, iTunes, and Spotify, and now the Place to Be Reviews on Discord. You can also email us if you're old-fashioned, okay boomer, at theplacetobereviews@mail.com, the world's best mail. Thank you very much. Also, on the way out, don't forget to bitch slap that like button. Do me that big solid, would ya? Yeah, I think you can do that. Also, hail the Fandom Menace. Hail to thee, my subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. Help us grow the channel. Hail the Fandom Collective, a group which we are proud members of now. We'll be working with them on a lot of collaborations in the near future. And I'd like to personally thank you all for joining the Place to Be Reviews. That's right, I'm Tepukuian of the Place to Be Reviews right here with all yous. Remember, if I don't see you, have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow.